Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal. I am your host, Sean Ellis, and today we have a returning guest from season one that I'm bringing back to kind of see what's been going on since we talked to him the first time. And we will be talking to Peach State Paranormal. So we have in the back room, and we will bring them on here, Ms. Kelly Ladd and Michelle.
Hi.
Can you? Ah, she got her mic working good. I was going to make a joke there a little while ago, and I said your ears must be burning when you popped up because we were talking, just a joke with you, but you couldn't say anything back. Yeah.
I can hear you, but you couldn't hear me. So
Well, that's cool. That's definitely for sure. Let's see. We've got Raw Side Paranormal in the house. They're saying hello.
hi.
Thanks for stopping in, guys. So, you were one of the guests on season one of the Eternal X Wolf Pack. What's been going on since you guys were on? It's been a while.
Same old, same old.
Have you?
Clearing ghosts. That's what we're doing.
Well, that's good. What have you guys been doing besides that? You've been learning anything new? I heard you've been to a convention and learning some new stuff. Hello, Susan from Susan Victoria. She's in the house.
Hi, Susan.
Hi,
So,
Susan.
So yeah, we did another year at MegaCon, and we really enjoy going to MegaCon. There's an opportunity to actually do some one-on-one with people. Last year, was it 2024 was our first year, so this was our second year. And one of the things that we've really been working on over the past year is helping people, helping other gifted people understand their abilities or what to do with their abilities, helping them understand that they're not crazy.
mm-hmm.
There are resources out there that can help them identify their gifts as well as help to develop their gifts. And we find this a lot with especially teenage girls. And Michelle can tell you a couple of stories that we had, but it's been really rewarding because a lot of times when we're in the public in some type of maybe a MegaCon type of arena, we'll see a family kind of pass by the booth, and then we'll see them. They'll pass by again. They'll look at our poster that has our names and our titles. They'll look at like Michelle and I, or Michelle, Stephanie, and I. Then they'll walk back, and then maybe an hour later, they'll come back and they'll finally get the courage to stop and say, "Can we talk to you for a minute?" And it's almost like a whisper. Hey, can we talk to you for a minute? What kind of questions do you have? Well, we think we're gifted. Can you tell us? So it kind of sparks the conversation, but
Oh yeah.
they're a little bit scared to come and talk. They don't. And then one of the other things they'll say once we start talking is, they're like, "Well, we thought we were crazy." I think we're not crazy. Um, so we've been doing some of that work. We've been doing some light work, a couple of investigations. We'll talk a little bit about the weird investigation that we had. Michelle, fill Sean in and everybody else on what we've been doing as well.
I mean, gee, we've just been trying to keep up. No, we've been trying to develop our gifts a little more too, taking some classes, reading, things like that, trying to figure out where we fit into this huge paranormal arena, and how we can best be used. And, it just seems to be in everything we do. We're always finding a way to make it work with wherever we are and whatever we're doing. Kelly was talking about MegaCon. we have people coming up to us that range in age from maybe 12 to 75,
Mm-hmm.
talking to us about they think they have gifts, or, they're seeing people in their homes. What do they do? And they're asking for prayers, for information that they can use to protect themselves. And they're asking for titles of books so that they can try to determine if they have gifts and what they are. And we have so many people come up to us. I think I'm an empath. And
Mm-hmm.
that seems to be the most common one that you get, and things like that. But last fall, just for fun, we decided that we would go to a location that's in North Georgia, and it's not a pre-Civil War home. There was a home there that was pre-Civil War, but it burned. So this one was around 1890s, I think. Kelly, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna make
and
a holler real quick. I'm gonna make a holler out here real quick. We got Miss Gwen Johns, the All Access producer for All Access Network Television. She is in the house, and Joe Aldridge. Thanks, guys, for stopping in. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just kind of
no,
like to
that's
holler
okay.
out to those guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we went to this house just for fun. We decided we would spend the night, and it was kind of cold. It was October, end of October. North Georgia's kind of chilly. And we didn't even get to the place, and you start hearing Deliverance banjo music in your head
Oh
over
God.
and over and over. And then you get there, and it all fits. It just all fits. And
It really did.
then we meet the caretakers, and we think they're straight out of the movie, and it was just.
Oh boy.
It was an interesting night, and we felt very unsafe. And I'll say we've been to many, many, many investigations. We've all done this for many years throughout our lives, and I've never felt unsafe, but I did there. We all did. And Kelly had her gun with her, and we wouldn't even go. The house was gutted. There's no running water. There's no electricity. There's no anything. So they had a porta potty outside, and every time we would go out, we would go in pairs, and one of us would hold the gun. And that's how bad it was. And I can honestly say I've been doing this since I was, I started doing this when I was 5 years old. Never have I felt as unsafe as I did at this house. And it wasn't from the spirits. I felt like it was a human entity that we were being watched.
Wow.
And it was quite unsettling, honestly.
It was weird. I mean, we got some great footage and we had some great evidence, and we had equipment going off like crazy. We had cameras, we had set up cameras, we had rotopods going off, we had EVPs of, like kids' balls dropping and bouncing upstairs. The weird thing is that there weren't any balls. I mean, I had a couple rubber balls, but they were in my kit. We had not
Mm-hmm.
laid out marbles. We had laid out a few toys, but nothing. There was nothing upstairs that could have made some of the sounds that we were hearing downstairs. And like
Mm-hmm.
Michelle said, the house was gutted. It had wooden stairs, really no railings, and then it was plywood upstairs. The house was framed out. There was an attic, and you always felt like somebody or something was watching you from the top of the attic. I mean, a couple times I would shine my flashlight up there, and there was nothing. Um, Michelle talks about the caretakers, and I'm not kidding. Like, I'm with Michelle. I felt more unsafe because of the humans, and I'm one of those people that I don't really announce. So I guess everybody now knows that I carry a gun. That sounds bad, but I don't. When we go on location, it's not like I'm open carry.
Right.
Something just told me to make sure that the caretakers knew I had a weapon on me. And and I had to put a little bit of attitude with that weapon. So I was just kind of giving them a look like,
Well, I mean,
come near me because I'm not messing around.
I mean, that's a good thing if you don't have somebody that's with you to watch, you guys from behind or watch your backs or stuff like that that's with you. And it's just you two ladies, it's good to have that little extra, but like I said, don't flaunt it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's always good to have it. I mean,
Steph was with us. We had a male with us. We had a couple males with us. They ended up leaving in the middle of the night. They got scared about something. I don't. Did you ever find out that? We never found out, and they left. And we decided after they left that we just need to patch up the gear and leave. And you never saw 6 cameras and a whole bunch of kids get put away like that. Packed in the car, and we were headed down that mountain fast.
I would say I've actually experienced one of those locations like you were talking about. It's very unsafe, and it was in a location with the old team when we were there, and we were talking to the residents there, and they kept talking and babbled to begin with because we were there to help find a missing person, and they seemed to just talk in circles like they didn't really want us there. But then the relative, like the older brother and the older sister, wanted this person found. But when we would go to talk to the people, the residents, and they didn't want nothing to do with us. And it got to be kind of a sticky situation in that location. And the strange thing, I walked out and I was talking to a young lady there, and I said, about 3 weeks. And the other teammates looked at me and was like, what? In about 3 weeks? I said, she's going to die. In 3 weeks, she died of an OD. So, but yeah, it was a bad location. So, I mean, I don't know if that's kind of similar in situations, but the fact of feeling uncomfortable in a location and keeping your team safe is number one priority. So,
Absolutely.
It is, and we haven't. What was interesting about this case is that fast forward, so there was this locked shed that was next to the house, and we all just had some creepy feelings about this place. So it just seemed like something non-human, maybe a combination, was behind the locked door, and so the three of us kept seeing this man, not a human man, but psychically. And Rochelle can give you a more detailed description of what he looked like, but we all saw the same guy, and the three of us had the same impression that something bad had happened in that shed, something bad had happened on the property. And we just kept getting these very strong impressions.
mm-hmm.
A couple months ago, we finally kind of figured out what was going on collectively. And Michelle, you want to take away this part of the story because it's pretty weird.
Well, I'm pretty good at seeing people features. I can kind of tell you how old they are, what they look like, how they portray themselves. I've had people portray themselves as being 40, but they weren't 40, they were 80.
Right.
And I kept seeing this man, and he was not good. And he had an axe in his hand. He had an axe in his hand, and it was almost like it was shaped to his hand, like he had used it for so long and used it so intently that it had an impression of his hand in it. I kept seeing that over and over and over. Well, we had an individual that we used to be on a team with, and she contacted us out of the blue and said, hey, something's weird's going on here. Do you guys see anybody around me? Well, it was immediate that we did. And the weird part about that was she had been at this house a couple of months before we had been there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then when I looked up behind her, the guy I saw in the shed was standing right behind her in her living room.
Michelle and I saw it at exactly the same time because our friend was like, I don't know where I got this attachment. And right at the same time, Michelle and we knew exactly who it was, and we said the name of the location. to her exactly at the same time.
Wow. So it followed her home.
Followed her. It comes and goes.
Yeah.
I was so hesitant, I mean, I'm still hesitant. I've been doing this my whole life, but I'm hesitant to say things that I know or I pick up on. And I typically don't do it, when it first comes to me. I'll wait. I
Hmm.
really want to see if I'm really doing this correctly. This guy was a serial killer.
Wow.
Well,
And
he
he
had,
had been working in the area in the 1800s. And he didn't live on the property. He lived about behind that shed, a couple miles. But he came to that shed. He hid out in that shed and he stalked people from that shed. And it just kind of unnerved me because I don't think I've ever experienced some soul that was so evil and had so much to hide.
and we had that impression. I mean, we kept saying that the night that we were on the investigation, that we felt like whatever entity was around that shed, that we really felt that there was a serial killer in the area, and that somewhere on the property was where he did those deeds. I mean, obviously, we have proven it. It's private property. It's not like we can, call the police and say, "Hey, this is
Right.
what we think happened 120 years ago," or whatever.
Right.
It was strong enough of an impression that it was very unnerving. So we
It
had the kids
was.
unnerving, we had some of the spirits unnerving, and then we had some pretty wild activity that night. It was an interesting evening.
And there was a girl, a young woman, I would call her young. She was probably a teenager in the house, Native American. And it was almost like she was trying to tell me about what she knew about what had been going on out there. And at the time, I was just so unnerved about what I was picking up on that I wasn't really listening to her tell me this, but she knew. She knew what had happened and what was going on. She wasn't a victim of his, but she knew the story. And the weird part about it is this is the first time in my life that I have ever smelt like just a pool, like a big, not just a spot of blood, but I could smell like gallons of blood. I
Oh
just
wow.
smelled it. I could smell it over and over and over, and it just wouldn't go away. And it was really strange, just a really weird experience. And we haven't even reviewed our footage yet because I don't know if I'm just not ready to do that yet.
Yeah. It seems like maybe it might have been a little traumatic as well. I know when you find a spirit that's got some evil to it, I should say, or that's a really bad spirit, that the air is so thick you can barely breathe in it. And it's
Yeah,
got heavy feeling to it.
it
And
was very heavy.
yeah, and it's definitely something that's going on for sure. I mean, the location that I experienced that is a 12-hour investigation I had with the old team. And we found out that John Wayne Gacy possibly could have been there in that house, along with they had articles of Manson in the
Mm,
house. And we're not so sure that there ain't bodies still on that property because they found a half a body in the wall.
wow.
So, but yeah, that feeling has got that heavy, dense feeling that you definitely know something happened.
And we're not scared of really very much. I mean, we've encountered a couple low-level demons and some things that most people may be a little bit afraid of or intimidated, and we really don't get intimidated. But this, I don't want to say that we were afraid, but we definitely were on hypervigilance
Oh
that
yeah,
night on many levels. I mean, spiritually, physically, it was kind of crazy. I think I'm finally ready to start reviewing the footage, just because now that we've put some pieces together,
Hmm.
I want to really see what we have captured on the body cams,
Yeah.
EP recorders. I've looked through some still pictures, and there's some interesting pictures that I want to look at a little bit closer, especially it looks like something strange is hovering over Stephanie in a closet. I think that this closet may have had a portal in it, but yeah, I really just need to look at it a little bit closer.
Yeah. That, like I said, even after I was on that investigation with my old team, it takes a lot out of you, especially when it was a 12-hour investigation and that heavy feeling around you. And me and another empath, we figured out that it was following us. And when we did that, we got down into the basement where we kept hearing EVPs, and we played them back that said murder, rape, kill. And they were constant, and they were kids' spirits that was saying that at the time. And I gave all my crystals at the time to the other team member and asked her for some salt. And then as soon as it did, it come right to me because the guy next to me said he felt something walk right through him, right to me. And when it did, I put a salt ring around us, and then it was all she wrote because it couldn't go anywhere. It had to be there with me, and I gave it a new home. And we had several kids' names come over the ovulus when they walked past the REM pod, and I think it was about 14 names that we got from that night.
Oh, wow.
So we got Tammy Christensen in the house. Thanks for stopping in, Tammy. She is one of my mentors for Reiki. We need to do another investigation at my house, Belinda. The girl who lived here before passed away last week. Oh yeah, we definitely can do that. Just say the word. Um, but yeah, it can be very intense and it can be very draining. You definitely have to be very grounded and work on grounding methods when you go into locations like that because it does take a lot out of you if you are not grounded.
Oh, absolutely. And that's another thing that we get a lot of questions about is how, how best do I protect myself? And so, I do more of the metaphysical things along with the
Mhm.
spiritual things. Um, Michelle's got her cross all the way. She doesn't do the crystals and the herbs like I do, but big believer in the herbs, the sage, all that, and my
Right.
crystals as well as my faith. So never leave home without the faith. Number one, and then crystals and herbs, second and third.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I've learned, and I've been taking shaman classes for a little over a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And one thing that shaman would tell me, he says, "What works for you, keep it with you, because it may not work for others."
Right.
But
Right.
but another thing I've also learned is try to learn all of it. Try to learn to keep balance because then you have more weapons at your disposal when things come up because you have knowledge of this and knowledge of that. And the more you look into it and do the research on it, it comes up very beneficial for sure because you have that knowledge. Sage is great, easy way to grow a flower garden. Yeah.
It is. I use a lot of sage. In fact, one of the things, my projects that I need to finish in the next week or so is I make an herbal tea with the herbs that I grow that are sage based, and take that on investigations. And if I start feeling overwhelmed, will step outside and take some of my herbal tea or chew on some sage. I like pineapple sage the best for that because it tastes good. But need to put my peachy protection tea on our website, and I'll get that up. Found that it's been very calming and very useful in the past years.
Well, Tammy, if your sage is growing way out of control, I need to stop by and I need a new batch. I think the last time I was in a location and a cop was actually looking around and he happened to look in my car and he said, "Well, that doesn't look like anything that you should be having. I'm not going to say what he thought it was. And I was like, well, if you think that's what it is, I said, you're more than welcome. Go ahead and smoke and see what happens. And I said, I'll get it out of the car for you. And he goes, nope, nope, nope. So then he looks in the car and opens it up and he goes, yep, you're right. It's sage. And I said, I told you. I said, I was a paranormal investigator. Didn't believe me, but go for it. And I said, if you want to smoke it, knock yourself out.
We've had cops come by houses that we were investigating just to tell us that they wouldn't go in.
Oh, we've had some that's walked up on us in cemeteries and seen haunted dolls in one of my previous colleagues' cars. And they were looking in there and checking it all out. And it's like, then all of a sudden they see us walking up the hill with all of our gear and stuff. It's like, don't care why you're here. Just pack your shit up and leave. We don't want nothing to do with whatever you're doing, you know? And it was freaking them out pretty good. And I just laugh. But it's always fun when you get people like that. And you gotta have a chuckle once in a while for sure.
We've had places where the property was surrounded by a gate, and the caretaker will lock the gate while we're inside, and the police will not. They'll stay outside the gate, right next to their car, make sure that we're okay, but they will not step foot onto the property whatsoever. And
Well,
then a couple tell us stories about the property as well. I mean, it's like they'll tell us we've seen people walking in, everything's locked out, there's no lights on, and we've seen people on the porch or in the window, and they will not go.
Yeah, that's funny because we were at Bell Mansion in Indiana, and I was with Pam Harris and Lori Bragg and Mandy Metzinger from Ghost Sisters and one of my former colleagues. And we were ordering food one night, and we couldn't find anybody to deliver it except Taco Bell was the only one to deliver to Bell Mansion in Indiana because they don't want nothing to do with that place after dark. So if you ever go to Bell Mansion and investigate, Taco Bell was the last one I knew that would deliver there. Yeah. You mentioned something earlier that people have been coming up to you asking about their gifts, and you said it was young girls, and I'm not saying this to be obnoxious or anything, but have you noticed that it's during the puberty level with the girls?
Absolutely.
Because when it starts to spike, because I know I had two daughters, and I went through that stage that, they were seeing shadows and they could hear things because they were empaths. And it all started around that time when they were starting to show their maturity.
That's when it happened to both of my daughters. Same thing. They're just like me. They don't, one of them cares to be, the other one doesn't. But yeah, that's the time it started for them too.
Yeah. Yeah. My youngest daughter was acknowledging it for a while, but I think she's faded away from it. And my oldest daughter has been here in my house. We were watching a pay-per-view for wrestling one night, and I have Matchbox cars hanging in my game room on the wall. And we were just sitting there, and they started coming off the wall. And she kept saying, "Dad, closet." In the closet. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Leave it there." He said, "It's in the closet." I know it's there. But I know there's two little kids up there, and they like to pull those cars off. And there's certain ones they like to pull off the wall because every time I hang them, no matter what, it's those particular cars that come off the wall. And right now I haven't put them back up for a while, and none of the rest of them have fallen yet. It's just particular ones that were falling. And I know there's a little boy and a little girl that's up there because we had the EVPs from it. But she could easily pick it up at the time, and she said, and it freaked her out.
Yeah, I had a man come up to me at MegaCon. He was probably mid-70s, I would say. And he said he had an accident, and he died for a few minutes, and he came back, and he said, "Now I see all these people."
Mm-hmm.
what do I do? And I said, well, it depends on, number one, what do you want to do? Do you want to do this? Do you not want to do this? And so you have to make that decision first, but you just never know about the situation that, is going to come up in front of you. I had a young lady, this was year before, this was last year. Kelly, you remember this girl? She was probably 15, 16. Her dad had died at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't talk to him. She felt that she should be able to talk to him and see him. And I immediately saw him, but I couldn't tell her what I saw because what I saw was not good, and he was not where she wanted him to be.
I do remember that girl. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was sad. And she was so desperate that it was sad. And that's, I think, sometimes one of the hard things is that people sometimes will ask us to do a read, or they'll ask very specific questions, and then we have to disappoint them sometimes because that's not really what we do. I mean, we'll read for remote viewing if for investigations, very specific reasons. We're not going to whip out tarot cards. We don't even own them. And so sometimes you just have to find the right words. Between that girl, and then we had another girl this year that this was so sad that I got angry because this young lady, her mother remarried, and
Yeah.
practicing, was it Santeria? Is that how it's pronounced? I always mess that up.
Mm-hmm.
And the mother had put a curse on the daughter.
Oh, wow.
The mother was accusing, the mother didn't like that the daughter and the stepfather had a close relationship. I mean, and it was a mother or a daughter father type of relationship. There wasn't anything funny going on.
Right.
But the mother, for whatever reason, was jealous of that and had put a curse on this young lady. And she's asking us for help. The only thing that Michelle and I could really do was just give her some tips and pray for her, and try to give her protection type of prayers and tips and tricks to try to keep everything at bay. But hearing something like that just broke my heart because I just can't. It's hard for me to wrap my head around a parent being like that.
I've actually had some people that's actually happened to. It wasn't family members, but it was other people doing it to others. And I showed them how to do a mirror spell, and I also showed them how to put things on ice, because whatever happens after you cast those two spells, if that person casts that upon you, it returns back to them 20-fold. Because if they've done nothing wrong to deserve that, it comes back to the person that sent it. And it does work, and it does happen. So things like that, like a mirror enchanting, or the fact of, like I said, freezing, if you know how that works, put that in work. It will work as well. Because I've had people do that, and they put it in the freezer, and it comes back on the person that cast it, because it's not right, and people shouldn't be going through like that. Words manifest, and they can actually cut deeper than you realize, and not a lot of people understand that.
No, they don't. What's happening, and that's again, sometimes the tricky part is being very diplomatic about what you're seeing so that you don't really upset somebody, because you don't want them to go opposite, or you don't want someone to potentially harm themselves or others because of what you're reading around it. So sometimes it is a little bit of tiptoeing around things that is a little uncomfortable. We had another guy this past year who very, very religious, very devout Christian, and he went up to Michelle. Michelle, you tell this story because you're the one that he predominantly talked to. He didn't talk to me very much.
He walked up to me and he was hesitant. And first thing he said to me was, "I'm a Christian and I don't know if I should even be talking about this." And I said, "Well, I'm a Christian too, so why don't you tell me and let's figure it out." He has telekinesis.
Ooh.
And he was moving things without realizing it, throwing forks across the room and sticking them in the wall. And he didn't know what to do about it. And he said, "Is this even really possible? To me, this has to be demonic, because I'm a Christian and I've been taught my entire life that anything that has to do with paranormal is demonic."
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very long conversation with him because I said, "I grew up the same way you did. I didn't tell anybody about what I saw or what I did or, anything that happened to me because it's not supposed to be that way." And I said, "But it is that way. And there are different realms out there. There are things that we don't understand, but that doesn't mean they're not there."
Oh yeah. And
So,
especially if he was doing it subconsciously, because I know from the Reiki background that I have, your energy, you can throw it out there. And when you can do that and match the vibration of something, you can move stuff. But the problem is matching that vibration to the glass or that object is very hard to do. So if he was doing it subconsciously, it's definitely a gift that he's got.
right. And he also had issues at work recently. And I felt that his energy was producing some of this to deal with the trauma that he was going through. And he had no clue. He didn't know he was doing it himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, he thought he was, he maybe had a demon or he had something else going on because that was the only thing that he could relate it to as he was taught.
Right.
And so I had to explain to him that that's not necessarily the case. Now, yeah, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Demons are real. It happens. But it was not the case here. And so, unfortunately, though, I don't know that much about it. So I couldn't really help him to the extent that he needed it. And what I did was come and look up some books on it and kind of read them myself before I recommended them to him.
Right.
Because everything out there is not the truth, as we well know.
Very
So,
true.
you just never know what you're going to experience. I've had people walk up to me on the street and say, "You can see my mother, can't you?" Just all kinds of things like that. And so you don't know and you don't expect it. It's a different life if you do what we do.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. We're definitely the chosen ones to be able to help people be able to understand what's going on, and it takes a specific type of person as well. I just know that from the fact of the Reiki side of it, that's really interesting. And Tammy, she, like I said, she's one of my mentors. She's the one that showed me how to do Reiki. And but if you actually take your hands and you do this and start going back and forth, you can actually feel that energy between your fingers, your hands, like a magnetic pull. And if you get to concentrating hard enough, it actually gets stronger and stronger. And when you refocus it, you can do things with it. Some people can feel that from a distance, because I used to freak people out, kind of like a bar trick. I said, stand back there a little bit, and they take their hand and go like this. And they could actually feel my finger right in the palm of their hand from about 10 feet away. And that freaks people out. So.
Yeah,
Hello, Veronica.
Sometimes we do things similar in a similar fashion when we're casting light, and casting protection on people that ask us to do so. And it's really pretty powerful when someone can say that they feel your energy.
Yeah, because I've done that at a couple places, and it's just like, what? How are you doing that? I said, it's your energy. It's your energy force. You can actually use your energy and throw it out there if you know how to do it. And the higher I noticed one thing that I've always found common, that if the higher the energy, the better off you are. Because once you
Right.
hit the low point, that's when things started happening. That's when you get your attachments. That's when you get your downward pull. That's when things start going wrong. Is when your energy gets to that low point that it's getting to you. And
You're
then,
vulnerable at that point. Yeah.
oh yeah, and they just keep going at it. At that point, guardians finding something outside to bark at. But yeah, I mean, when your energy gets that low, that's when you notice the attachments and how people are acting different for sure. Yeah, he likes to bark and raise a little hell out there because, like I said, he watches out the door and anything that walks by, he barks at. But yeah, so Reiki would be a good place to start for things like that. Kind of look into the Reiki side of it, and that will definitely help you with people that's got a lot of energy and being able to do stuff like that because it's all linked to the Reiki side of it. For
I had a
sure.
girl tell me one time that her sister's energy was so strong that she used it to manipulate her.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's
It,
possible.
It is
it,
possible.
it is possible. They've one of the people that actually could do that really well, if you've ever read the book on Aleister Crowley, he used to manipulate people and have them steal stuff and bring it back to him. So he would do a lot of that. So that's definitely one to look into is Aleister Crowley because he was very good at crazy stuff like that. I got a crazy doll I'm trying to get rid of. She's
Uh,
yikes.
um,
Okay.
this, I guess you can't really flash a picture of it from where she is.
No.
Um,
Be careful with that doll.
yeah,
Yeah, you really need to be careful when you're trying to dispose of a doll like that. Just anything will not work.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. That's definitely for
yeah,
sure.
she needs to, yeah, find someone that can find it and bury it. Um,
Where are you located, Veronica? Because I know people that would actually take that doll. So
yeah, it needs to be taken and bound and disposed of.
yeah, I've got a set of crystals that somebody gave to me because they've got stuff to them that it's not very good.
Yeah,
Delaware County, PA, unfortunately. All
Where?
right, Delaware. She said Delaware County. In
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yep, Pennsylvania. Um, some people up by the Boston area.
Do we, I mean, we've got Joe up in Connecticut, but we might be able to do a remote view and see what we pick up on.
There you go.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'd be glad to do a remote viewing with you because we do that all the time.
yeah, definitely go to Peach State Paranormal and send these ladies a message, and they can do a remote viewing for you. If not, I know a couple people that's in the Boston area. You could probably send it to and get rid of it, or heck, if you want, you could send it to me and I'll get rid of it, or I'll put it in a location where it won't do any harm to anybody.
But until then, um, I'm, yeah, until then, you need to say, I don't know what your religion is, um, so I don't want to offend anybody, but prayers put it in a box, um, something that has a clear lid, but is sealable, and then
Put it in something that's sealed.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you don't want to completely cover it. I'm getting the impression that if you want to contain it, the doll needs to be able to see out. It's got some weird energy to it. It's not good, but find something that you can seal it that has a clear lid or a clear window so that the doll can see out, and put a cross on top of it. And if you have some holy water or anything, Christian religious artifacts, surround it with the doll until either we can remove you or you can send it to somebody, because there's something definitely going on.
This doll has a very nervous, almost like an anxiety energy to it. And it can be easily provoked.
Yeah.
It does provoke it. I mean, I'm getting jittery.
Yeah, it's very, I almost want to say nervous, like this has a nervous condition and it can be easily provoked, almost like somebody with, that's bipolar or something. You can set it off in a second just by doing the wrong thing.
Hmm. Yeah. Also, you could put a salt ring around it inside of the box so that it can't go anywhere besides that ring. You could also put an obsidian stone, a black obsidian stone, within that box to retain it in that location so it cannot move anywhere as well.
I would also put it in a place where there's no interaction, where it's just by itself, where there's not a lot of movement, not a lot of, things going on, because it makes it very nervous, and that's when this thing's going to act out.
That's why it needs to see. That's why you need the clear window, because if it can see kind of what's going on around it, it will keep the anxiety level down a little bit.
It's almost like a teenage girl's energy.
Claustrophobic does not want to seem like it's claustrophobic. It's weird.
I had a doll last fall that a client called me for, and their child wasn't old enough to talk yet, but every time it would look over at that doll, it'd start raising, crying and throwing a fit and everything else. And she could have swore it moved on her. So I said, take it, put it up on the shelf, lay it flat. And I said, put an obsidian stone on top of it. It ain't going to move anywhere. It's kind of like putting Thor's hammer on something, or a cross on top of it. It's not going anywhere. I finally got to the location and I got the spirit box out, and it told me that I was stupid. It said a few other choice words. I will not repeat it. Said I was dumb on top of it and everything else. And I said, oh, really? And I said, you have a choice. You can leave. And I opened up a portal above it. And I said, when I take this stone off, this is the location you can go, or wherever you like, but you're not staying here. And it said, just started laughing. It came over the ovulus and it laughed at me. And I was like, okay. So what I did is I stuck it between two containers and I stuck some sage in there, and I could see what was going on, and it was cussing. It was cussing because I said, you're going to leave. You ain't going to have a choice. But I saged the whole container, and he says, I'll be back. And I said, no, you won't. And what I did with that doll, I actually burned it after I got him out of it, so he can't come back to that and use it as a place to stay. And he hasn't had a problem since, but he left.
Yeah. That's my first advice to people who have objects like that. It doesn't have to be a doll. Burn them.
Yeah.
Just don't even think twice. Just burn it. Get rid of it.
See, when I took that obsidian stone off that doll where it was at, it went through the portal that I opened for it. So it didn't have a choice to go anywhere else. So wherever it went after that, that's his own doing, because I said, you're not staying here. I gave him the choice of free will, and then I disposed of the object he was in because he wasn't coming back to it.
Well, and sometimes, so that same remote view that we did with our friend. Both Michelle and I, a lot of times when we're doing remote view or interviewing a client, we'll write down notes. And when we got finished with that call, Michelle said, Kelly, tear up your notes. You know, we've got to tear them up and get rid of them. So I tore up my paper and I was like, but something just said, you know what? I need to burn it. So I went out to the patio and all I had was this glass candle thing. And I put papers in, took one of those big fireplace type of torch lighters. And, I mean, I had that thing full blast going. That paper would not burn. And it was, I mean, it was just plain opal paper. It would not burn.
Wow.
Took several times. I took some other paper, kind of made a little bit of kindling. I got about half of that burned. The only thing I could think of to do was take that glass and the paper. I put it in an industrial trash bag, smashed it, and it went to the dump.
Yeah, like I said, it's best to get rid of what's in it before you get rid of the object, because then it's got other issues with it. But try to get rid of what's in the object the best you can, or if not, if you can't get rid of it or find somebody that can, definitely give it to somebody that can handle that stuff.
My advice is do not keep these objects in your home thinking it will get better. It will not.
Oh yeah, I've actually taken objects out of houses before that people didn't want them. They've actually gave me tarot cards that they didn't want because people felt the bad energy off of them, and they're still sitting on my counter here today. They don't bother me, but they're sitting here, and I don't use them, but they're still in the box. But the people didn't want them in their house, so I took them and I have them in my possession. And like I said, you just deal with it and get rid of it. And like I said, if you can't do it yourself, then find somebody, find a paranormal person, a shaman, or a priest that will actually help you and dispose of it, for sure.
I think sometimes, you know, one of the things that we get a lot of questions on when we are doing panels, whether it's at MegaCon or you know, other podcasts or whatever, I don't think people understand the danger they're putting themselves in when they go to a store and they buy a set of tarot cards, or if they buy a Ouija board. They really don't understand what they're doing, because I think sometimes society makes it seem like fun and games, or wow, you tell the future or whatever, and they don't realize that they're opening these doorways. And once these doorways are done or opened, it's almost like trying to put a genie back in the bottle, and that's not going to happen. And no, Veronica, don't throw it out yet.
No.
We need to see what it is first.
Yeah.
So,
It needs to be settled and calmed and reassured before you do anything with it. It's that type of spirit.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because like I said, getting it out or calming it down is definitely going to be better, especially if it's issues.
don't
And
If you throw that thing out, you're asking for trouble.
Yes.
I've known people that's actually thrown stuff out, and the next thing you know, it's back in a couple days in a different location.
Right, or a different object.
And it's more intense when it comes back.
Oh yeah.
You're just going to make it upset. So don't just talk to it nicely for right now, and either get the black obsidian or cross, put it in some type of a container as we've suggested, but do not throw it out until we can assess what it is. There's something weird about it.
Yeah, and like I said, if you can't get a hold of these two ladies here, then contact me, send it to me, or send it to somebody that's in a paranormal field, and they can take care of that object for you. Because like I said, if it is what you said it is and it's causing some issues, it will come back a little stronger than before, because it will be mad, and you don't want to keep provoking it. That's definitely for sure. So
It is it is a female spirit. I'll tell you that. It definitely is a female spirit.
so.
Yeah, even if you say,
Well, ladies, we go ahead, Kelly.
oh, I was just going to say, even if you say the prayers, don't throw it out because you don't know what it is yet, and we need
Oh
to
yeah,
figure out what it is.
like I said, you can contact me or you can contact Kelly or Michelle here, and we'll tell you how to definitely get it taken care of for sure. And like I said, so far, a cross, obsidian, and contain it into a container of some type for sure. That will definitely slow it down from having some issues.
Blessed salt, same thing. Do the same thing.
Yep. You can, yeah, throw salt in the container with it, and that'll definitely do some stuff with it as well, for sure. Well, ladies, we are at the top of the hour. Is there anything that you guys would like to promote or what's coming up for you guys?
We're going to be opening up our website, and what we're going to do is start putting things out there. We want to start trying to help people, just telling you, you know, for example, here are some prayers that you can use. Here's some for your, if you're a Christian, if you're Catholic, if you're, whatever, try some of these. And we're going to do things like that. And we're just trying to really get our website up and moving so that we can really help people, even, and then have them contact us if they need to. But so what we found in the majority of things is you can take care of it yourself if you are empowered and you understand what you're doing and have the tools.
Oh, yeah, I will agree with that. I mean, and depending on how strong your belief is and what you believe in, and like you said, with the knowledge, you can definitely probably get rid of it yourself. Sometimes I've run into locations where, how do I say this? It's been manifested by the people there,
Yeah,
and to de-manifest it is another story. But like I said, when you start giving it power, that's when it can get a little off the wall, for sure.
so look for our website. We're hoping to have it up in a couple of months, and we'll start posting things. And if anybody has any questions, they'll be able to contact us, or if they need help or anything that we can do. We have between us, gosh, probably 80, 90 years of experience between us. So, there's not much we haven't seen or done. So, and if we can't help you, we'll point you to somebody that can.
Oh yeah, that's
But I
that's
think that's important is that knowing the limits of what you can and cannot do. So, like Michelle said, if we can't help you, then we definitely have the resources of lots of friends that we can call in to help as well.
yeah. I am very fortunate because all the friends that I have made, if I ever run into a situation, I could always reach out to any one of them and get their opinion on it and start making a game plan if I can't figure it out myself. And that's a great thing when you have connections like that and to be able to do things like that. Because to me, when you share knowledge with everybody in the paranormal field where it should be, I might have a piece of a puzzle that you guys might be working on that might be different. But if you put those two pieces together, it might bring something to light in a different
Absolutely. Yeah.
and move things along instead of keeping everything to yourself. But the information could help somebody solve something they're dealing with, and or vice versa, instead of just keeping it to yourself. And like I said, I think this field would get a whole lot farther if people would actually understand that and be able to actually give information to each other instead of looking for, how do I say, the holy grail, thinking it's going to make them a fortune, But the fact is, I do it to help the people that need it, and the satisfaction I get is being able to help them understand what's going on and to help them move on to the next part of their life instead of being scared of what's going on. And to me, that's the best payment in the world. So,
And we're so fortunate because, we have our Peach State Paranormal team, but with us also doing a chapter of the paranormal
Existence Research Society.
first. I was trying to say the whole word out loud. But that's been a wonderful world as well, because we do cross investigations and hop down to Florida and hang out with our first teammates, which is growing, and that has really helped to develop us as investigators and as well as gifted people, and give us another set of resources that we never knew we had. So that's been also a nice added value, being affiliated with our first team.
That's awesome. Like I said, it's great when you be able to have that line of communication and be able to have the people around you that you can actually reach out to. And like I said, that's a great tool to have. So definitely for sure. Well, ladies, it is at the top of the hour. The hour went by very fast. I would like to thank both of you for coming on and sharing your experiences and talking. And it was nice to have you guys back on again. I'll have to look you up for maybe season 3 when I kick that off as well, because in a couple weeks, I'm actually going to take a break. So I've done a lot of podcasts in a year and 8 months, and I want to start working on season 3 and get out in the field a little bit again and with the team and do some stuff like that. And I've been doing a lot of podcasts, but I definitely appreciate you guys coming on, and thank you. I will set you guys backstage. But if you'd like to reach out to Peach State Paranormal, look these guys up on Facebook and check out some of the stuff they're doing. And if they post some of their investigation, check that out as well. These guys are really cool. So
Thanks for having us.
Yep. I'm going to set you guys backstage, and I'm going to close out the show, guys, and I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Peach State Paranormal. Definitely go check out them. They're a great team. They actually look into things. They're down to earth. They have some knowledge with them as well, and really cool group for sure. Let's see here. I got to look at my things here. We've got a few commercials I am definitely going to run here. And the first one is going to be this one right here. A Paracon you need to definitely check out. So here we go. Definitely go check out that Paracon. It's definitely going to have a lot of great people there for sure. Also, I will be at this Paranormal Rock Down in July, and I'll be wandering in the crowd and talking with a little bit of everybody and checking out the bands as well. So definitely check out this next one, the Paranormal Rock Down at Broadhead Manor in Wisconsin.
Brace yourself for the Paranormal Rockdown, July 18th and 19th, 2025 at the haunted Broadhead Manor. Friday night, rock out with Dead Amsterdam, Left on Red, and headliner Green Jelly. The music may not be the only thing shaking these walls. Rumor has it the spirits love a good beat. Will you meet one? Saturday, meet paranormal legends like Dave Schrader, Sam Baltrusis, and more. Enjoy thrilling workshops, tasty treats, and a live Zoom Q&A with Dustin Perry. Dive into the ultimate paranormal investigation with expert guides. Or join a spine-tingling seance with Sam Baltrusis. Tickets are limited. Get yours now for an unforgettable weekend of music, mystery, and chills.
Definitely go check out the Paranormal Rockdown. I'd like to thank All Access Network Television here as well, and all the great things that you can see, all the shows. We have a bunch of good lineups that you can check out, from anywhere from serial killers to paranormal and etc. They do a great job there, especially with Gwen John at the helm. She is the powerhouse producer there, and definitely go check out this next group as well, the All Access Network Television, which also I have a guest coming on next week you will probably see in this commercial as well. Yeah, definitely check out All Access. Matthew Brown will be my guest next week, and we will talk about grounding and how to ground and be more efficient as well for all new paranormal teams and even experienced ones as well. So definitely check out next week when we talk about grounding. Have a great weekend, guys. I'm out of here.